Hey, Rage Nation, it's Kimber Schaefer here with Rage in the Cage OKC News. And the time is near. Rage in the Cage 86 is just right around the corner. And of course, today we're doing pre-fight interviews at Whiskey Nights in Oklahoma City, one of the best dance floors in Oklahoma City. So we can't be more happy that they allow us to do this here. But I've got Keagan Davidson. You are the man of the hour.
Always.
Always. And, I mean, he will tell you he's looking good today. So, I mean, I don't even have to tell you guys.
Looking good, feeling good. That's
awesome. That's what it's all about. So we are so excited. This is going to be a great night of fights. I mean, I was just looking at that fight card, and your opponent is Tyler Logan, and I can't help but he's just a great person as well. But you guys actually fought MMA on a Rage in the Cage card, and you came out the winner of that one. But it was a great fight, wonderful fight. Both of you just gave it all. Great fighters, both of you, great people as well. You guys decided to do kickboxing this time. So what brought that about?
Well, I finished him in the third round during the last fight that I had. Then me and my coach, we kind of debated on what we were going to do for our next step. We had thoughts of dropping down to 45, which is still an option. Or we're taking another MMA fight at 55, but, I felt like I wanted to step out of my comfort zone. Everybody sees me as a wrestler. I've got hands too, so I put it out there on my live show that I do, Drinking with the Outlaw. I said, hey, I'm a wrestler.
I love that show, by the way.
I said, hey, I'm a wrestler. Anybody wants to kickbox me, I'm down. That's a perfect match for a kickboxer. Should be an easy win.
Yeah.
Nobody took it. We had a couple guys that we were looking for. Didn't pan out. Then Summer tried to get me to do the rematch with Tyler first, and I really wasn't down with it, just because I fought him in December. But then it took a little more convincing to do it, and this is where we're at now.
Oh, good. So how long have you been training as far as MMA altogether, and then just on your striking?
So MMA altogether, I started early last year. As far as just pure striking wise, I didn't start until about 6 months ago, whenever Chris Vereen became my head coach.
Oh, he's such a good guy too. No wonder you're such a good guy. You're just surrounded by good people, and it really rubs off on you. So you're pretty early in your career then to have so much success in the cage that you've had so far. Walk me through some of your fights that you've had so far, and what's your current record?
So I'm 3-0, all 3 submissions, 3 finishes. My first fight was against Carlos Hernandez. He hit me with a couple good shots, but finished him in the second round with a head-on triangle. My second fight, I fought Hank Khalidi.
Khalidi, I think. Yeah.
And ended up never got hit throughout the whole fight. Second round, got him up against the cage, got him in a standing guillotine, finished it there. Then my third fight was with Tyler Logan, probably my toughest fight. Was. We were both coming in there undefeated. But push come to shove, I'm here for the long run. Third round, got him with the arm and guillotine. He took a bad shot, capitalized on it. And that's where I am today. So now we're looking to dip into the kickboxing world and get another W there.
Well, I didn't realize that, you had, called people out on the kickboxing, because that's where you really need to grow right now, because obviously you've had the 3 submission victories and you want, to change that up a little bit. I didn't realize the background on that. So I love doing pre-fight interviews kind of to give a perspective of why you're in the cage and why you're doing this. And obviously it's just to make you a better fighter. As an amateur, this is what we do. This is what you guys do, is put yourselves in situations that you may not be comfortable with to grow. And so I'm just proud of you as a fighter for realizing that, and obviously Chris probably had a little bit to do with that as well.
Oh, yeah.
Realizing that and growing as a person and as a fighter. Do you feel like this sport has helped you grow as a person as well as a fighter?
Oh, most definitely. It made me comfortable with who I am. Used to, I was timid. I didn't really like confrontation, so I couldn't go a whole lot in life, because obviously you're going to have those uncomfortable moments that you don't want to have.
Yeah.
And it definitely helps you build a backbone, and it also humbles you in a way to where you carry yourself as a different, type of individual. But then you also have to make sure that you don't become the type of individual that is making the bad impression on a lot of people. There's been people locally that has tried to get their name out there. try to build a brand around him, but unfortunately it wasn't in the correct way. So now everybody just wants to see him get beat up or leave.
Yeah. And I know exactly the people that you're talking about, so you don't even have to tell me, because I mean, you just know when you're in the MMA industry here locally, you just know it's just a common thing. So, but the reason I asked you that question is because even people, because I worked in television news. When I stepped foot into Rage in the Cage, I think it was like maybe 9 years ago, I didn't know a whole lot about MMA. I was raised, my family was into wrestling, so I knew a lot about wrestling and pro wrestling, but not a lot about, the sport as a whole. But people, because on camera, I'm one person, but in my personal life, I'm pretty shy and laid back and, to myself. And people that know me really well, they thought, what are you doing out there with like those brutal people that, that brutal sport and all that blood? And so it's been my goal over the years since I've been here is to really change the image of MMA. And it's people like you and Chris Vereen that really have helped me in my endeavors, my personal endeavors, just on the media side of thing, in trying to change the perspective. And so that's why I asked you if you feel like it's changed you for the better and made you a better person, because that's one of the things that I tell people, that sometimes people turn to MMA over something like drugs or sex or, whatever a vice may be, that this really is, I interview fighter after fighter after fighter that tell me how it saved their lives. And so I think there needs to be a real appreciation for that, and how this can be used to really as a tool out there to, save a lot of people that might be going a direction that wouldn't be good for them otherwise. So great to hear your perspective on that as well. Yeah,
and it's, you obviously have to have a screw loose to be able to get yourself locked into a cage, and there's only one way out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, there's people use this as a vice, to get through their everyday life. Like you said, some people use, sex, drugs, whatever that the source may be. But you have to get in there, and once you get to release that anger, that stress, obviously, you want to keep a focused mind and be clear when you're in there fighting, but it also lets you get a lot of that stuff out of there, and you just cling on to that. And that's like whenever you get these guys that fight all the time, that are just fight after fight after fight after fight, they're just going in there, and they've gotten so used to just being able to let out that aggression that they go too long of a period without it, then they will literally go insane.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've seen that. I've seen people that have really just gone off the deep end as well. And then you do have, in every sport, in every situation, you've got the people that are going the opposite direction that we would like to see them go, and they're the ones that will be fighting outside the cage or causing drama outside. You know what I'm saying? We see fighters out there, or using their title belts or whatever it is to try to get themselves some sort of recognition. Just everything in the wrong way. It happens, but I think for the most part, we see so much positivity in this sport. So, and I appreciate that you are working alongside me in some way, shape, or form, although, your show is not like, it's not like a Rage in the Cage show, but I love what you're doing and interviewing fighters and giving them just another stage and way to talk about the sport, because, we are trying to grow this together. MMA has been for years now one of the fastest growing sports, but it still isn't given the media time, the things where we want it to be yet. Yeah. So, but we're growing and we're getting there. And I think it takes people like you to get out there and spend the time and getting those fighters out there and get some fans built up, because it's all about the fans. Ultimately. We got to put people in those seats. So.
And so, like, whenever I first started the show, a funny story, it actually started because I have real bad social anxiety. And if you go back and look from our first interview up to now, I've definitely changed with how I handle things. So it started out as like, okay, well, let's just get on Facebook, and we'll talk to people, try to get rid of it. And now it's kind of grown to the part to where, you know what, forget about the fence, it's the fighter now. And so I don't want to pick people's brains. I don't want to just hear how it changed their life. I want to know why. Like, what point exactly in your life did this change, and then what is driving you now? And so instead of just talking to them pre-fight, I want to talk to them whenever they got their free time. And obviously, I like my beer. And so I'm going to sit down. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to have a beer with somebody. I'm going to let them open up and really put them on a platform for themselves.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the reasons we started the Rage in the Cage media team as well. And so, I mean, we have a similar goal in that, is that a lot of these fighters back then, I mean, Justin is right behind the camera over here. He can probably tell you, but back then there wasn't media teams. Unless you were on Bellator or UFC, you didn't have an opportunity to do something like that. So when you go to do your very first interview for one of these bigger promotions or bigger stages per se, some of the fighters were getting looked over because they didn't have the interview skills. People like you that are more shy in front of the camera. Well, I mean, see, I don't even notice that about you anymore because you've come so far. And that's why we always did this, is because we wanted to get these fighters time in front of the camera so they can get comfortable and feel a lot more secure. So when they go in for these interviews, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
We've had fighters show up before that are literally shaking. I mean, shaking so bad they can barely talk. And there have been some extreme cases where people were so nervous that it kind of made me nervous to put them in the cage, I'll be honest with you. And I did have talks in that situation for the manager, and I don't want that to be some way people don't show up for interviews, but I'm just saying, I mean, this gives people that opportunity because it's not a cage, but you're still under spotlights and things, right. And so it gives people like an opportunity just to kind of, okay, I can handle this, I can do this, it's not that bad. So of course, for somebody like me, I've been in media. I started work at Channel 9. This is going to age me. I believe it's 1996. So I've been doing this a long time. So it's nothing to me. It's nothing to me to be in front of a crowd of 2,000 people. I don't think of it. My husband, on the other hand, he's an accountant, and if he has to speak in front of 5 people, he's nervous. So, but that's my goal, is to give everybody, because I'm sure when I first started out, in college in 96, I was nervous. Right. So, but anyways, but that's what it was designed to do. So I'm just glad that you're doing that for folks out there. So we appreciate that. All right, back to your training. You're training with Chris Farine right now.
Yes.
So how have you changed it up now for kickboxing? Because, I mean, I'm not a fighter, but it has to be something in your mind that you have to be, oh, this is not an MMA fight. I can't do that. You have to really work through when you're changing back and forth between like boxing or kickboxing and MMA, you really have to work through the mindset to make sure that you remember.
Yeah. So with me, I've noticed my striking has improved tremendously. But, being MMA, I can't just rely on my striking. And I also can't rely on my opponent to stand and fight me. So there's different things that go into it. So now I'm kickboxing, I'm not worried about wrestling at all, because it can't happen. So I'm more, my striking has opened. I can open the doors to any and everything that I've worked on now. So I'm a lot more comfortable on my feet, especially they're going to be bigger gloves. I understand that, but same power is going to go into it, same speed and the same thought process. I'm going in there to finish a fight, give him another loss on his record.
All right. Sounds like a good night of fights to me, and so can't wait to see you and Tyler go at it once again. So Saturday, March 5th, Great Plains Coliseum. You guys, you've got to make it out. This is Keagan Davidson. He's got tickets in hand, or of course you can click his name at stubwire.com. We can't wait to see you. Oh, before we go, any sponsors or shout outs?
Yes.
I'm all doing the wrap up, and then I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't ask you for sponsors.
So I'm going to shout out Gym 365 in Conoway. That's my gym family. I love all y'all. I want to shout out Spartan Fit MMA in Springtown, Texas. That's where KV is. My coach, KV. I want to shout out my sponsors. I've got Curry Orthopedics, My Furniture Store in Sulphur, 4B Welding and Dozer in Mill Creek, Ryan's Auto Body and Collision Center, and Patrio's in Sulphur.
That's a pretty good list of sponsors for someone that just has 3 fights under your belt. So,
telling you, looking good, feeling good.
Yep. Yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations on that. fighters and people in general. I know we have a fighter that fights out of our town, and my entire town, town comes out for it. So it really kind of benefits when you grow up and
it's
live
definitely a blessing
in a small town. So congratulations to you. Thank you guys, fight fans. We will see you again Saturday, March 5th at the Great Plains Coliseum in Lawton, Oklahoma. Of course, get your tickets at stubwire.com, and we will see you then.